Obviously, there was a lot of emotions there. It was kind of a big, exciting moment, but a big kind of sigh of relief because we know we left a lot of plays out there. But the way we battled and found a way at the end of the game was huge for us.
Well, Wentz struggling against the pressure, completed just 3 of 14, but when not pressured, he was much better. Both his touchdowns came without pressure. His 317 yards without pressure, a season high, most in a win in his career. And so it was not a thing of beauty, but it was a win they desperately need, and they get it. Ryan Clark, what is the number one most important thing you want to say coming out of this game to kick off the NFL weekend?
Well, first, the most exciting thing about the game was Daniel Jones falling. I mean, it was the greatest fall a New Yorker was involved in since John McClane dropped Hans Gruber from the top of a building on Die Hard. But when you look at this at the NFC East, it's just a lot of bad football. It felt like I was watching a junior college game that had 2 5-star recruits be kicked out of their colleges and have to play in this JUCO game. And sometimes they'd make these amazing plays to will their teams to first downs and touchdowns. And then you'd see the boneheaded things that they do that got them kicked out of D1 in the first place. But what it comes down to is anybody can win the NFC East. And I think that's the reason that so many people are on the Philadelphia Eagles, because they believe that Carson Wentz is the greatest talent that's still left in the NFC East, and that Carson Wentz can make the plays that finds ways to win games that are very close because both teams are extremely bad. Now, it will be entertaining. It will be bad football, but someone will win 6 games. And because of a tie, maybe, Greeny, the Philadelphia Eagles can represent a very bad division in the playoffs this year.
Somebody has to. Ninkovich, I think maybe sometimes we feel like they're the one team that if they got healthy and got right, could get good. When you watch the Eagles play, they get the win last night. What are you seeing?
It doesn't matter who wins the division. It doesn't matter. Like, my takeaway from this game is whoever wins the division, they're going to lose in the first round of the playoffs. When you look at the Eagles, yeah, we would just watch the highlights. But look, there could be a clip just as long of the lowlights. That's my takeaway.
That's a very good takeaway, no question about it. Bart Scott, your thoughts again. You host the talk show here in New York, so you're sort of living in this on a day-to-day basis. Eagles, Giants last night.
I'll tell you what, this reminds me of Coming to America when he falls down the stairs and he says, rinse, dude, don't be pulling that falling down the stairs crap. Because Howie Roseman has really made more transactions than any general manager in previous years. And now this team is the rinse dude. They've been, really spending like they on a credit card. They're $64 million over the cap next year. And this team is old and in a lack of talent. And I think that they're going to have this is their best and last opportunity to be relevant before they have to rebuild.
And just very quickly before I move on, you made me laugh at the end of the highlight. What did you call Daniel Jones?
Well, Daniel Jones we talk about guys who can't have ball security. Junior Whopper hands, because if he doesn't have 2 hands on the ball, it just comes out. And we call it burping the baby because he's sitting there patting the ball. And you have to understand that you have a horrible offensive line. Get the ball out of your hands, Junior Whopper. You don't have those big Ben Roethlisberger double clutch pump fake hold on to the rock.
Just to be clear, you say Junior Whopper because his hands aren't big enough to hold a whole Whopper.
Yeah, you can't hold a whole Whopper. Junior Whopper only. You got to get 2 Junior Whoppers. You can't get 1 Whopper.
I needed a laugh to start my morning. You provided that. Let's run the hurry up as we look ahead through a couple of the interesting matches. Diana Rossini, you've got Titans Steelers, the game of the weekend this weekend. What's your matchup to watch?
The Steelers defense, they are built to stop the run, and quite frankly, the Titans have proved they can't win without the run here. Now, we've seen the Steelers, they've slowed down Kareem Hunt, Saquon Barkley, a lot of good running backs. They have the second best run defense in the league, but none of those guys are Derrick Henry. So I'm going to be watching to see what they're going to do to slow down the running back that is red hot right now.
No doubt. RC, Seahawks, Cardinals. What's the matchup to watch?
Listen, I'm looking at Kyler Murray against this Seahawks defense and also against Russell Wilson. Darius Butler tweeted a commercial when Michael Jordan was playing his young Chicago Bulls self when he was with the Wizards, and then North Carolina, Michael Jordan walks up. That's what I feel like when Kyler Murray stands across from Russell Wilson. Kyler Murray is going to have to match him play for play, big stat for big stat, and I'm looking forward to watching.
Ninkovich, we got 49ers Patriots. What's the matchup to watch?
I'm saying the Patriots defense against George Kittle, the best tight end in the NFL right now. So every week is a different game plan for the Patriots. This week in particular, it's going to be stopping that dynamic tight end. That's the matchup to watch.
Absolutely, and it will be Jimmy G making his return to Foxborough in that game as well. And when he and the 49ers come to town, something could take place that hasn't happened for over a decade. The Patriots could lose back-to-back home games. After they fall to Denver last week, Cam and the Pats need a win to avoid their first home losing streak in 12 years. Meanwhile, here's Cam on his play of late.
Just haven't been good. And I haven't matched enough good plays together for my liking. And that's what it comes down to. I know what I'm capable of, and my standard is extremely high, and I haven't been meeting it, my personal standard. So that's how I feel. You know, for us as an offense, we know our excuse basket is running, real low.
All right, Rob Ninkovich, you, of course, played for the Patriots for years. Your notes this morning were really interesting on just how important you think this game is for New England.
Yeah, I personally think this is the biggest regular season game that I could think of ever right now for the Patriots in the last 10 years, even go back farther than that. It hasn't been since 2000 that they've been 2-4. So to be 2-3, that's a place they've never been. 2-4, I don't even know what it would be like to be in that building at 2-4. And I can tell you this, this is a big week for the Pats.
Yeah, but you do know what it's like to be in that building with that coach when things don't go well. So coming off a loss, coming off a bad stretch, which they are now, how do you expect Bill Belichick handled this week?
Back to the basics, back to the fundamentals of what football is all about, and that's taking care of the football. If you hold the football, running back, if you touch the football, quarterback, protecting the football. That's the basics of football. So for me, Bill stands at the front of the team on a podium, and when he is getting serious and he starts to hammer a point home, he takes his fist, and it's like a judge and his gavel. He's going to hit that thing over and over again, and I can guarantee this week he was pounding on that desk in front of him at the podium. He was pounding on the podium, telling everybody, back to the basics of football. Do not turn the ball over against the 49ers. That's going to be key.
Ryan Clark, what do you think as you hear him saying that, knowing what that franchise has been and what Belichick is? What thoughts go through your mind?
When he says the word basic, in 2020, Greeny, the worst thing you want to be is basic. You don't want to be a basic chick. You don't want to have on a basic outfit. You don't want to be basic in any way. And that's what these weapons are for the New England Patriots. And, I was starting to listen to Rob talk about what they do when they have to lock down, when they have to go back to the fundamentals of the game. What happens is, Bill Belichick has always been the goat herder. And when you're the goat herder, you need some goats. And he don't have the goat anymore. The goat's in Tampa Bay. And so now he's going to have to figure out this thing and get back to the basics he hasn't had to get to in the last 2 decades. This is different. This isn't the same old thing for Bill Belichick. He doesn't have the weapons on the outside, and he also doesn't have the one person that's galvanized this locker room for the last 20 years. And so even though they know what it used to be like, he had to buckle down and get focused. This team is totally different now. This team is not great on the outside. So I'm looking really forward to watching Bill Belichick have to pull off his greatest coaching job of all time. The greatest coaching job is not winning the 6 Super Bowls. It won't be getting to 9. It'll be getting this team to even be in contention in the AFC East come the end of the season.
I may want to push back on that, but let me get you on it, Bart. Do you agree with that?
Well, I totally agree with it. He took a lot of my points. I believe that, you talk about every time, Bill was banging that gavel, he had the GOAT behind him. It's kind of like when you're getting bullied and the little kid comes and he's screaming at the crowd and everybody's afraid, but they don't realize that his big brother's behind him. Tom Brady is the GOAT, and Tom Brady's always been able to be a force multiplier. So when Bill Belichick makes a bad decision like drafting a guy like N'Keal Harry who hasn't worked out, who hasn't lived up to expectations, he was always able to get them to perform at a high level. So now, we've been asking this question for decades, and we